Trusted equipment backed by service. Safer patient outcomes begin with the right equipment and the right partner behind it. That's why we created the MVP program, our commitment to being your most valuable partner in every procedure. When you start using IMP patient protective pads or SteriBump, our sterile surgical bump, you unlock more than just great products. You gain discounted repairs to keep costs down, free loaner equipment to keep you up and running, product discounts to maximize your investment, a 1-year new product warranty, and the exceptional service and support you've come to rely on, delivered by a team that's with you every step of the way. It's more than just a service plan. It's our commitment to stand behind you with best-in-class support, because reliable equipment means safer outcomes for your patients. That's the MVP standard. It's service when you need it, support that's seamless, and protection that's built in so you can focus on what matters most, patient safety. Talk to your IMP representative or visit impmedical.com/MVP to become an MVP today. Because when you invest in IMP, we invest in you.
It's 8 o'clock. Y'all know what that means. It's time to talk. Family, we are here. First and foremost, as I always do, thank you to IMP, the MVP program. Y'all saw that commercial. What can you say about it, right? It is actually one of those programs where you actually get literal buy-in with your vendor partner. And that's what they're trying to create, a vendor partnership. And you saw some of the benefits there, free loaners, 24 customer service, just things that you always want from a vendor. But in this, they're actually making you a part of the team. So the MVP program, IMP, if you have reached out to them, definitely reach out to them. Great products. It's that SteriBump. We talked about it last week. It will change the way you look at rolling towels to sterilize them for surgical cases. I know that people are like, rolling towels. Yes, it's still a thing that happens in the field, but SteriBump will change that. Again, to all of you, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to come to you with, just the talks that we've been having and the great conversation that's been happening in these forums. The season has started off great. And thank you to all of you and the CEUs. What an added benefit, right? You get to sit, talk, learn something, and still get a CEU out of it. And that goes to show you that how much we value what you bring to us being here. As I always do, learn to listen so others are willing to talk. Definitely available now. And also Time to Talk is still available. Definitely, if you have not got your copies, definitely get that. And let's talk about it. So for this episode, I wanted to definitely dive into something that I just want to make sure that we are doing the processes the way they're supposed to be doing. Shortcuts do happen. Should they? No. When those things do happen, we do put patients at risk. But what if the person doesn't know that what they're doing is incorrect because it was something they were shown? As they always say, that tribal knowledge, right? What if that one instance is where they think they're doing the right thing, or again, they were shown to do it that way? So to this show, I want to make a clear distinction. And you saw the title of the show, right? Clean isn't sterile. And why does that distinction matter? Let me say it again for you. Clean isn't sterile. And why does that distinction matter? I want to first say I do apologize. Miss Vargas wasn't able to attend today, and I did reach out to a good friend of mine who, it's funny because as soon as I put the post up, he said, "Wait, I need to hear this because I need to let people know, some of these differences." So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna have him come and talk to us today because, again, if it's clean, and you hear this all the time, if it isn't clean, it can't be sterile. And I think that's a misleading statement because if it's clean, does that mean it's sterile? That's why the distinction matters. Because you hear people say that, you will hear people say that in your careers in this field. People have said you can't sterilize it if it's not clean. So we're going to talk about those distinctions. What is clean first and foremost? What is sterile? And then I want to throw the wrinkle in there. How does HLD play into all of that? I know y'all didn't see that one coming. Clean, sterile, and high-level disinfection. How do they all play a part in patient safety and what happens in the OR? So without further ado, just to get this conversation started, because I know he's like, hey, I got some things to say. I want to welcome to the podcast, and y'all know him, y'all love him. It's Mr. Stir the Pot himself, Mr. Jesse Lopez.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, I got Mr. Stir the Pot on Time to Talk. Let's do it. Sir. First and foremost, thank you. But for the people who don't know who you are, and they don't know who that could be, but for the people who don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself to the family, sir?
Well, again, my name is Jesse Lopez. I'm sorry, was that?
No, I thought we had called that for a second.
My name is Jesse Lopez. Yep. I'm Jesse Lopez. I've been in the field for 17 years now. Started off as a surgical tech, and now I am a educator in sterile processing. I did the roles side by side for about 8 years. Fell in love with the chaos of sterile processing, and here I am stirring the pot and giving it to you how it is, raw and uncut.
And that's what I need from you today. I want them to hear the real deal about what these three distinctions mean in sterile processing. You got Angela here. I saw Carol here. So people really want to know, Jesse, in sterile processing, what is clean?
Well, if we're going to define it, there's a definition in every dictionary and every standard and every guidance. But for us as sterile processors, the process of cleaning, or the definitions of cleaning, is the removal of visible and non-visible soils or foreign matter from an object or a device to make it ready for the next step of the process. That is the definition of cleaning.
So, okay, history lesson for everybody. So that's cleaning. And what is decontamination?
So decontamination is the process of making an item safe for the next process.
So family, you see that he's reiterating that it does go through another process. And I just want to make sure we get that from what he's saying. Cleaning makes it ready for the next process. Same as decontamination makes it ready for the next process. So we can't stop at cleaning and say it's ready for a patient, correct?
No, we can't clean.
Okay.
We cannot. For patient use, an item has to be decontaminated. So whether that be through low level, intermediate level, high level disinfection, or sterilization, that is when that item becomes patient ready. We do not clean devices and then use them directly on a patient.
Okay, so just so we're going to get into the other things, but what steps constitute cleaning? Maybe that's where people are going to get confused at. What steps actually make cleaning achieved?
And this is where it can be a little confusing, because cleaning can be achieved by different processes. You can clean You can clean with different detergents. You can clean with a approved disinfector slash cleaner, with a cleaning agent. So it depends on what you're cleaning. You're not going to clean your not going to clean your teeth with the same items that you're going to clean your countertop with. So
Okay.
different chemicals, different chemicals in a nutshell is
So
used for the cleaning process.
so let me ask this just so we can clarify. So we're using chemicals to clean, and then we get it ready for decontamination. Is that how that normally works?
So when you get into decontamination, you're actually trying to remove the microorganisms off of the item that you just cleaned. So clean is going to take the bulk of your soils. Okay, you're going to clean the bulks off. When you're cleaning something, is you're removing the majority of the contaminants that we can see. Now, I know I defined cleaning as non-visible and visible soils because not
Right.
all soils are visible. Like some mucus member, I can lick a spoon. Okay, I always use that analogy. I can lick a spoon. You're not going to see that soil on there. Okay, so that's
Okay.
the cleaning process of removing those gross soils. Decontamination is removing those microorganisms to the safe level of handling.
Okay. So when we say the pre-treat, pre-cleanse from the OR to sterile processing, is that a cleaning process?
That is not a cleaning process. Let's get that correct. The
Okay.
standards made it very clear when they updated ST91 specifically, and hopefully we're going to do the same thing across the board with the other standards as we update them. They used to be called pre-cleaning at point of use. Okay,
Yes.
the reason it's not called pre-cleaning is because they're not using they are using chemicals, but they're not using the whole center circle process. Okay, center circle is time, temperature, concentration, and contact with a chemical to remove an item to process. They are pre-treating a device so that it can be easily cleaned. So at points of use, we're pre-treating with a chemical to make it easier to clean.
Okay. Hey, if you're listening to us right now, please share with your network. Please get people involved in this conversation. That's a very good point that he made there, because I remember when it used to be called pre-cleaning, and then we had to make that switch to pre-treating. So getting that into people's heads and letting them understand that they're not cleaning anything. We're just treating it to get it ready for, as Jesse said, the next process. So in that next process, and you said we're just pre-treating right there. So if it's getting pre-treated and then moving down to decon, when do we clean it?
Okay, when the cleaning starts in the decontamination area. Again, decontamination the decontamination area by definition is the centralized area within a facility where all soiled items are transported to so that they can be cleaned. And that process of cleaning is typically followed by the IFU of the medical device that has been validated by the manufacturer, whether that includes just water or a chemical to that process, but it also involves time, temperature, contact, and friction, whether that friction's through irrigation, cavitation, or mechanical force of scrubbing with a brush, sponge, or towel. That is the process of cleaning.
Okay. Okay. So in saying that, how do people mistake? And this is where I know you wanted to get into a little bit. How do people mistake clean at any point for being sterile if you have to go through all these steps?
That's where I wanted to discuss, because I don't think anyone confuses cleaning with sterility. Okay,
Okay.
we may confuse cleaning with high level disinfection, but that's a huge jump to say cleaning is sterile. That's a huge gap. Okay, in order to cross that, it may look small on paper, but that's a huge gap when it comes to processes. Okay, cleaning is just, again, when you clean your body, you're not sterile. Okay. Yeah, that's you clean any object, a body, a car, a spoon, a fork, a dish, a surgical instrument that is not ready to be used on a patient. I don't think anyone in the medical field would confuse a clean item with a sterile item. Okay. Now I will say that I have had some heated debates with some surgeons when they're using items in a non-critical area, say like a rectal probe or an abdominal probe, and they would argue and say, "Oh, I just need that clean, and I can just use it because it's going to be on a non-sterile area. It's going to be a no." We still have to decontaminate it. We still have to disinfect it in order for it to be patient ready. So there's another process that has to take place. Oh, we're going to put a sterile sheath over it. There's still a disinfection process that we have to do because, again, we always think about the patient. When we
Okay.
decontaminate stuff, it's not about the patient. We decontaminate stuff to protect ourselves first and then protect the patient. Okay,
Okay. You
that's
touched
where
on some.
I think that's where the confusion and where the clarity isn't met in this field. We have to protect ourselves first before we protect the patient.
I said,
That's what the
okay.
decontamination step does.
You touched on a few things there, but I want to get these comments in, and then we're gonna go back to something you said. Carol says, "I agree. Point of use is not cleaning, as they cannot clean in the OR based on standards." It went away real quick. Angela says, "I have seen TEE pros from being clean versus HLD. I've seen unsterile and sterile confused by mainly new technicians with no experience or hospital staff with no knowledge of sterility." So back to your point of let's wipe this off. Oh, the last part of Carl's thing said they're making it easier for us to do our process to clean. Back to your comment of you've had doctors say, "I just need this cleaned and sent back. We're gonna put a sleeve on it, or a glove over it, or whatever to use it." Hi, Arlene. It's clean in a sterile area, right?
When they're putting a sleeve on it,
You
so
cleaned it and sent it back to them.
so typically, if doctors are putting sleeves on items, they're not going to use it in a sterile area. They're going to use it in a semi-critical area. Okay, a oral cavity, a rectal cavity, a vaginal cavity. That's when sleeves are used in a semi-critical application. Okay, they'll put a sterile sleeve over a disinfected item.
Okay, we just want to make sure we clarified that because I heard you say it like when they ask you to clean it and then send it back up because they're still going to use it the way they want to do it. And then Tandria says, "Nope." What does the IFU say? Again, in that capacity, if they're telling you just to clean it and send it back up, what do? Do you follow the IFU for cleaning it, sterilizing it, or do you just clean it and send it back up?
No, man. Well, you talking to me, so I can verify this one all day long, and any doctor that's ever worked with me will verify this. Okay, we follow the processes and policies of our facility. So, and with that being said, okay, some items are allowed to be high level disinfected. Some items are allowed to be sterilized. If our facility's policy says that we sterilize this item, we don't pick and choose which process we do because the doctor needs it right away. Oh, he needs it right away, so we're going to high level disinfect it instead of sterilization because that takes longer. No, we don't bump back and forth in those processes. The standard even states that when we pick a process, we stay to that process. It's not going back and forth. So if we're sterilizing an abdominal probe and a doctor wants it right away, that it is getting sterilized, and you will not receive that probe until it gets sterilized. I don't care if you're putting a sleeve on it or not. The policies and procedures of the facility is that we sterilize this item. So that is how we're going to continue practicing to give the highest quality of patient care.
And family, you know how we do it. I know about what it's about, but I'm going to skip that because I want to hear Jesse say what he was talking about just now. So when you're using your tracking system and you're putting in these items and it asks you the method that you want to use for sterilization. If you put in steam and it's compatible to go both ways, do you mark that it can go steam or SteriRad? Just in case both your sterilizers are full and you need that tray turned over immediately so you can put it in SteriRad, or once you steam it, you leave it.
Okay. Once you, and again, you have to follow the policies and procedures of your facility. Okay. Once the only time you would go back and forth like that is you have a steam sterilizer and it broke down, but it can be steam, it's SteriRad. Okay. All right. Steam is down. I do have a choice to SteriRad this item, or no branding. I can put it in a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer. Okay.
Right.
We can do that. Okay. But we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that because there is a rush. That's almost like saying you're gonna IUSS. That's basically what you're doing. Okay. When you're choosing not to steam sterilize the item and put it in a low temperature sterilizer, you're basically choosing to IUSS that item, or you're choosing to do an immediate use with that item. Okay. Because IUSS is steam sterilization, but you're choosing to use a quicker process for that item, and that is not acceptable. Okay. And whether it be through steam or low temperature, you stick to the process that you already have in place. Okay. Now, I've never been to a facility that you have a choice to do one day you decide as a technician, hey, I haven't used high-level disinfection in a while. I'm going to high-level disinfect this item, and tomorrow I'll sterilize it so I can keep on my toes. No, it's one process.
Okay, I got some good comments here for you, just so you can see that the people are here. Arlene says, just because you can don't mean you should. Carol says, you need to be careful flipping between sterilization methods because this will also cause instruments to deteriorate and break down faster.
That is correct.
Also, but they want to wipe it off with a sanding cloth and put a sheath on it. Nope, not in the IFU, but that's what the vendors try to get techs to do, and have seen it with Sensitag. Arlene said, thank God we got rid of the wood owls and the rectal trays. Like, so all of these things that you're speaking of, people have seen or, have been a part of those type of things. So that's why that's important to know as well. You can clean it, but once you pick a method, you should stick with that method. There should not be going back and forth. Angela says different modalities of cleaning. You have ultrasonics, manual cleaning with brushes and towels, the sprayer arms. All these things get you to the cleaning. Now, to your point, now we're talking decontamination or disinfecting. Use different chemicals, different things to get there. So where do we go from clean to being disinfected?
Okay, so again, you have to follow your IFU of your device, because again, some items you can't use a disinfectant wipe. So this is one of the biggest debates in sterile processing when it comes to hand washed items.
Okay,
where is the disinfection step in a hand wash item? Okay, so you cannot.
I say you're about to start.
I'm going to start. I'm about to start it.
You're about to start something, but before we get there, because I know this is going to be good, I want to go to commercial so that when you come back, you can let people know what that missing step that people are talking about, what we mean by that, because I know people are like, what he mean there's a missing step. So after this commercial, we'll be right back with Jesse.
Yes, sir.
In a world overflowing with noise, are you truly being heard? Or better yet, are you truly listening? Kenneth Campbell, industry author and expert in sterilization, is back with his latest book, Learn to Listen, so others are willing to talk. This book isn't just about hearing words. It's about understanding, connecting, and building trust. Whether you're leading a team, navigating relationships, or simply striving for better conversations, these practical strategies will transform the way you communicate. Imagine a world where every conversation leads to deeper connections, resolved conflicts, and greater influence. It's possible when you learn to listen. Are you ready to elevate your communication and create meaningful relationships? Learn to listen, so others are willing to talk. Available now.
Hey, family, we're back. We got Jesse. Jesse's about to go in. I like it when he gets like this. Jesse, We talked about that step. What is that disinfection? I heard you just were about to say there are some things that can't be. So let's talk about it. What does that mean?
All right. So again, one of the biggest debates that I always hear when I hear the conferences and within sterile processing is where's the disinfection step when it comes to hand wash items?
Okay.
Well, typically hand wash items do not get a disinfection step prior to the assembly area unless the IFU gives you that option. Okay. You cannot, according to the standards, apply any additional chemicals to a product if the IFU does not call for that product to be placed on there. Okay. Whether it be alcohol, Sani wipes, Cavi wipes, blue tops, pink tops, purple tops, whatever, gray tops, whatever that is, you cannot apply it to a product unless the IFU of that device calls it out specific. Okay.
Now,
It has to. Go ahead.
I heard you say it, and I want everybody to, I know they're going to be coming back in the comments here in a minute, but everybody, but no, you know what? I'm not going to say everybody. There's a lot of facilities that alcohol is their best friend.
Yep.
I heard you just say if the IFU doesn't say it, they shouldn't be doing it.
Yep. So let me butt in on that one. So
Okay,
let's take a walk. So let's take a walk in those facilities, and I can guarantee you that you will see some cords that are brittle, some foggy camera lenses, some lenses that don't have good adhesive around there. And then let's see that same facility when the Joint Commission walks in and see where those alcohol bottles are at then. You gotta hide it from the Joint Commission. You shouldn't be doing it.
That's another whole show right there. We can't talk about that right now. That's another whole show. Arlene said, come on, let's go. Let's talk about it. So for people that are using alcohol as a drying agent or as a disinfectant or as whatever you want to call it, I've seen it. It goes through the window. They're spraying it down with alcohol and all these things. Are we saying that that's a step that they probably should be looking into? Because if the IFU doesn't say it, we can't be doing it. Basically, I know that's the main thing we always say, follow the IFU, follow the IFU. But what about it in that part?
I'm telling you, that's a part, and we shouldn't be looking at it at all. We shouldn't be doing it. ST91 has discouraged the use of alcohol to be used as a drying agent and tells you that if it is in part of your AERs or endoscope reprocessors, then you should be looking at some different AERs, because we see that alcohol is more of a fixative rather than a drying agent. And as a disinfectant, although it's very good, it needs 5 to 10 minutes of contact time, which no one is achieving in use. No one's doing it. You can't even saturate or spray that much alcohol on an item to achieve 5 to 10 minutes of disinfection time, of contact time.
I see the comments that go ahead. Drea says, I agree with Jesse 100%. I saw some more pop up. So when they come up, there are IFUs that specifically say no alcohol. Angela says there are clearly written in the IFU, no alcohol. So
that is correct.
So tell me this, and this is for anybody listening that want to take it back to whatever teams. And again, these are our opinions, and what we say here are our opinions, and it doesn't, fall on whatever entities we may be associated with. How do you convey that message when it's done so industry wide?
Just like we're doing it right now. We continue. Let me tell you something. It's our industry is hard-headed. It really is. It really is very hard-headed, because the standards clearly stated that you should not apply any additional chemicals to a device unless the IFU states that it can be. It's been like that for the last, I've been in this industry 17 years. It's been in that standards for 17 years. This is nothing new. We also know that we shouldn't be cleaning on the assembly side, but we see those brushes out there. We
I
see
was
people
about
working
to.
away.
I feel say our lead trying to start stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this comment, and I'm gonna let you just do whatever the answer is. But she says, "Can we spray on the clean side?" Jesse, please break it down for everybody. Should they be spraying actually on the clean side?
Again, no additional chemicals should be added to an instrument unless the IFU states so. Now, our disinfection processes over on the assembly side typically involves high-level disinfection, sterilization, or some form of intermediate disinfection, either by a soak or a wipe with a controlled method to avoid aerosolizations. Okay, so can we spray? No, we should not be spraying.
Okay. So all these desks that I've seen across the country, they got these alcohol bottles with the sprayers. What we're saying is that typically should not be happening.
That is correct. That is
Hey,
correct.
you can hear
Even
it
if you're
right there.
wiping down, if you wiping down your workstations, again, you may think you're doing something, but you're not. Again, are you waiting that 5 to 10 minutes of contact time? You know, what are you actually doing? And again, if you're aerosolizing that stuff in a confined space, okay, you should be wearing your proper PPE if that's what you're going to use. But typically, you won't see any product on the market that you use to disinfect
The
your
part where he was just
workstation
saying.
that's pure alcohol.
Even to that point there, are we putting on full PPEs and stuff to even wipe down stations where you're spraying all this alcohol? Are we waiting the 5 minutes? Are we achieving the 5 minutes? Like you said, you can't spray enough alcohol to let it sit there and be saturated for 5 minutes. So are we really doing what we think we're doing? That's the key. Are we
Not at all.
really doing what we think we're doing? Angela says it all boils down to education and training, reading IFUs and in-servicing instruments and equipment prior to outing it and putting it into service. Again, Lisa says, preach, no brushes on the clean side, because people know it still happens. Like it still happens. There's somebody who has one hidden somewhere. Carol says, just because people do it, i.e. using the alcohol and stuff, doesn't mean that it's right. I saw Tadria said the same thing. Education to everyone, no matter how long they've been doing this, it's always, and I tell people this all the time, I've been doing this over 30 plus years, and it's always something new, something changes. Like you said, there was an update, but does everybody know the update? Does everybody read the IFUs? Does everybody even read how to use certain chemicals? Like you said, how many people before just now knew that there was a 5-minute saturation time? But we see people spray and then start doing stuff. They spray and start doing stuff immediately. So do they even know that time exists?
We even see it with our other chemicals that we use to disinfect. I mean, we have some chemistries that just take a minute of contact time. Are we really waiting that 1 minute? No.
And I guess back to the education, right? That's back to the education that y'all talking about. It's like at the end of the day, if they're being trained that way, if they're being trained to do it that way, are we, I mean, again, not putting this on anybody in particular, but if my preceptor showed me that's the right way and nobody's ever corrected me, why wouldn't I think that's the right way?
Well, here's another caveat to that though. There's a difference between education and training. Okay. As a new technician that just passed my certification, whatever, you learned all the right ways. Okay. It was all in black and white. Okay. But when you go into the field, you start seeing deviations. The problem is in today's society, no one likes to question the process. They just go with the flow because they think that they're going to get some clap back or they're going to get some, discipline over it. And they're afraid to question the process. I teach people to question the process. If I'm teaching you something that wasn't listed on that education, question me on it. That's the whole part of education. We learn, and that's how we learn. Hey, I noticed that you're doing a process, but that wasn't what I read in the book, or that seems different from the process. Can you explain to me why this is getting done in such a manner? Or, hey, we learned about disinfection in the disinfection chapter. There are 3 disinfectants: intermediate, low level, and high level. And we talked about this wet contact time. Can you demonstrate wet contact time for me? Challenge the processes. It doesn't mean that you're being a difficult technician, that you want to enrich yourself with knowledge. And knowledge in this field is power. That's why I seek it all the time. That's why I try to give it back all the time. Because we have technicians that have been in this field 30, 40 years and been doing it wrong for 30, 40 years. I'm going to be that young buck to tell you you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. Arlene has a good point here. She says, you talked about the pure alcohol, about the pure alcohol and the lab tester, lightning maker, boom. She said, we're going to set some departments on fire and stuff around here. It's just people doing stuff incorrectly. But that goes back to the point of, right, Angela says, empower your team to challenge things. Like what you say you're doing with your team. You got to give them the right to challenge if they don't think something is correct. But back to what you were saying, say like the purple top, gray tops, we write the wet time on those so people understand what it is, but not on everything. So they're picking and choosing what we're teaching, the right way to do something.
Correct.
So back to that, and I know your one of your things is the education of like a universal education thing, but we can get on that. It's another show, another time. So getting to people to figure out or even implement the right strategies. I know we say read the IFU. Everybody says it, follow the IFU, follow the IFU, follow the IFU. However, just in this brief conversation that we've had, we realize that not everybody does. Is there a universal magic wand we can wave to make that a real thing?
No, it's not. Because again, we're living proof right here with these podcasts and all this education and conferences. We talk about it all the time. For the last 17 years of my career and listening to these conferences and podcasts, we talk about the same thing over and over again. And I've been a traveler going to different facilities. I've gotten travelers to come in. You know, I have technicians that work different facilities and they go, Jesse, can you show me where I'm not supposed to soak drills, like the striker drills? And I'm like, who's soaking striker drills? Oh, they definitely soaking striker drills. And I'm like, well, they're not supposed to be they're not supposed to. And they're like, well, they're doing it, and they tell me that you're saying it is wrong. Here's your IFU, buddy. No soaking. The whole picture on there. Okay. Education is paramount. Okay.
Yeah, just to that point, like accountability, asking questions, like ask those questions. But to what Jesse's saying is, when it's just that knowledge that's getting passed around, it's not until somebody asks a question that we can get to the bottom of what the real issue is. Yes, is there a drill out there that can be soaked or sent through the washer? Absolutely. But what does this one say? I think that's the problem, is like everybody thinks everything is universal. So if it's a drill, it's a drill. If it's a light cord, it's a light cord. If it's a camera, it's a camera. And all of them should be treated the same way, which is not the case. But I don't think that goes through people's mind when you say we should be reading IFUs. Like if I've done it one time over here, that I can do it. All of them are done that way. And that's where we get into the dangers of what gets missed, what that shortcut looks like, and those type of things. So let me ask you this. I just want to get to this. So let me see. I got one. I had one for you that I wanted you to answer. Okay. If an instrument is visibly clean but not sterilized, let's go visibly clean and not sterilized, and it gets mistaken for a sterile item. Just in general, what are the repercussions of that as it pertains to sterile processing and the patient on the other side?
Again, that's a huge repercussion. Again, when we go into, and again, it depends on how it's being used. Again, is there a huge risk if I use an unsterile stethoscope to listen to your heart? Of course not. That's a non-critical area. You don't need to sterilize that item. Okay. Or is there going to be a repercussion if I use a mouth gag that's not sterilized to look inside your mouth? There's not going to be a high risk on that either. There's not going to be a high risk for a, non-sterile colonoscope. Okay, we see it all the time. But if we're going into sterile tissue, okay, if I'm cutting a person and there is blood into the vascular system, or there is a risk of tears, then that item needs to be sterilized, because any microbes that does not belong inside of the body can cause an infection. Okay. Our own microorganisms can cause us to give infections. Okay. The microorganisms that live on our skin are not supposed to be in our heart and in our bloodstream. So when we get a cut, that's why it's important to clean the area and disinfect the area, because we don't want those microorganisms getting into that bloodstream, which is a sterile area of our body. That's why we get those red marks, that swelling and that burning and sensation and that pus buildup, because your body's saying, hey, this does not belong in here. Even though it comes from our body, it does not belong in this area of your body. Okay, so yes, a clean item that appears clean, that is used in a sterile procedure, is a huge risk to the patient, because not only do we have to consider what type of microorganism, we have to consider the health of that patient. What kind of susceptible host is that patient? What other ailments does that patient have? Do they already have an existing disease? Are they an elderly patient? Are they on immunosuppressant medication? All that comes into play. If you're generally a healthy individual, then you might get away with it. But if you're already a sick individual going into a hospital, nobody goes in healthy to a facility to get a procedure done. They need something done to them. They're already sick. Something's going on. So, and you're getting put under anesthesia, which shuts your body's defenses down. So you're already a susceptible host there. So it's a huge impact. Now, with confusing clean to sterile, as I stated, that's a huge gap. That's a huge gap. There's a lot of safe mechanisms in place so that we do not confuse that.
So
but again,
to that point, I got a question on that very place. I have a question about it, but I'm going to ask you that question right after this commercial.
Trusted equipment, backed by service. Safer patient outcomes begin with the right equipment and the right partner behind it. That's why we created the MVP program, our commitment to being your most valuable partner in every procedure. When you start using IMP patient protective pads or SteriBump, our sterile surgical bump, you unlock more than just great products. You gain discounted repairs to keep costs down, free loaner equipment to keep you up and running, product discounts to maximize your investment, a 1-year new product warranty, and the exceptional service and support you've come to rely on, delivered by a team that's with you every step of the way. It's more than just a service plan. It's our commitment to stand behind you with best-in-class support, because reliable equipment means safer outcomes for your patients. That's the MVP standard. It's service when you need it, support that's seamless, and protection that's built in so you can focus on what matters most: patient safety. Talk to your IMP representative or visit impmedical.com/MVP to become an MVP today. Because when you invest in IMP, we invest in you.
I heard what y'all know that. Did y'all see that? Discounted repairs, free loaners, customer service that's unparalleled, just for being an MVP customer. Check out IMP, get the information for yourself, and see if it's something that can actually help you. When you become an MVP, that just means you're just looking for another level of quality, and they're handling it to you right there. Think about just the savings with the discounted repairs, the free loaners. That alone is a big one, because when you call for those loaners, if they're not out there, it's a tough day. It's a tough day. So again, definitely IMP, the MVP program. Contact your local rep. Jesse, just getting back to that conversation. I heard you say it, and I want to touch on it because we hear about it, and I've actually seen it in person one time. When a tray makes it to the OR that's unsterile and it gets used, those are essentially clean items, right?
Yep.
So, with all these safe havens we have in place, how does that happen? Is it the shortcuts? Is it education? What is it?
It is bad education. Okay, it is bad education. Okay, every sterile item that is produced within a facility has to be in some form of sterile barrier. Okay, there are external indicators that change colors. There are internal indicators that change colors. Okay, there are filters that have indicators. There are lot. It's knowing the difference between what is a sterile item versus what is not a sterile item. For sterile processing, for us, it almost becomes complacent because we're constantly touching stuff and we kind of forget about the visual cues. And that's how items make their way up to the OR unsterile. Is we're so used to doing the process that we forget to stop and do the things that we learn and stop going back to basic. When items come out of the sterilizer, before it goes in the sterilizer, we're supposed to be checking those visual cues, box locks, indicator cards, indicator tape, the integrity of the package itself. Those checks and balances we're supposed to do, but we've gotten to the point. I do it with my technicians all the time. Like, hey, I seen you pull that stuff off the load, and put it on the cart to take it downstairs. Did you check to see if those indicators passed? Did you check to see if the locks were on there? Did you see if the tape was torn? Vice versa. And then it's who's coming or who's picking those cases to go to the OR. Are they authorized personnel trained to know what they're grabbing? Or is it somebody from the OR? Because let's keep it real. There are very few surgical technicians, very few nurses that know the difference between a sterile item and a non-sterile item. They're going to see the tray name and just grab and go. They're not going to look at box locks, and they can't tell you, hey, if I have a blue tape with blue stripes on it, what color does it change when it goes into low temperature? They may not be able to tell you that. We may be able to tell, because we're going to tell you, oh, blue tape, we know that company very well. It's going to change from this color to this color. Very few scrub techs and nurses can tell you that. So they're not looking for the visual cues that we're looking for. It's carelessness on our part. It's carelessness on the person picking the case. And it's a really big slap on the wrist for the person opening it up in the OR, because they should be educated just as well as we are on looking at all those visual cues before they touch an item. One of the things that you're supposed to do when you open up a tray in the OR, is you're supposed to look for those chemical indicators in the tray. Okay, if they're not there, that tray is considered unsterile or compromised. If they did not change color, and they know that very well, if they didn't change colors, then that tray should not have been used. Okay, those locks, if they're not in place. I stirred the pot a couple weeks ago about that. Would you use a tray without the locks in place? It was a resounding no. That tray is uncompromised. Well, even if we know it wasn't opened or those latches weren't popped on, we can't trust that. Okay, but we do it all day long with high-level disinfecting items. We do it all day long.
We're about to go into the high-level disinfection, but I want to get these comments for you so you can hear what they're saying. Angela says, did the equipment receipt say pass? Like, are we looking at that? Did it meet the parameters? Are people even still checking those things? I know we're supposed to, but do they still check them? Tadria says, we place pictures up in the OR to show the different sterile, unsterile. I've seen that a lot. I've seen that in the OR, that what the education is, they do have both of them there so everybody can see it. So I have seen that. What else we got? So, Jesse, in that, so if everybody's supposed to know, and I've seen it a couple of times in how does a whole load make it to the non-sterile? And I know you said it can be just as simple as somebody paying attention, but we're talking whole loads. Tadria also says that their tracking system alarms you if something's not sterile. So there are safeguards and there are things in place. But
that is just plain, just not paying attention. That is somebody who just disregarded the processes. They, were distracted. I know for a lot of facilities is you have bigger facilities, at least you have the individuals that are assigned to sterilization. Okay. And, you have a specific area where you put the items that are waiting to go into the sterilizers. And then you have a cooling area where items, or a loading area for things that are supposed to go in the sterilizers. If you're not following, if you don't have a policy or process in place to distinguish the two clearly, okay, or you're having people just randomly put things on your load, loading up your sterilizer rack for you, it may be that they put a unsterile item on a cooling cart that have an item that's sterile. Again, you have to have these processes in place. When you send the whole load down that's not sterile, that's just you did not follow the process. You broke processes, you broke policy, and you just didn't follow it the way you thought that you can do it a better way or a faster way. And the faster way is you messed up.
Now I want y'all to think about what he said, and then think about your processes. For your sterilizer cart, are everybody placing their individual trays on that cart? Or are they setting them in an area and allowing the sterilizer person to build their cart? Little things like that can actually cause those mistakes as well. Arlene says communication of subproducts too, like when we can't get our normal indicators, when stuff has to switch out, is that communication being talked about? Because again, if we train them to see blue to black, and then the indicator has to change or something, or it's the one that says if it goes past this line, it's good. If it don't go past this line, so those type of things. Are we communicating that behavior? And while we go, I'm getting Jesse here to talk about high-level disinfection real quick. But while we talk about that, get your phones ready. The QR code for tonight's episode and the test are going to be displayed here in a minute. Definitely get your phones out so we can make sure you get your CE for this episode. Jesse, I know that you wanted to talk about it. High-level disinfection. It's not, as people would say, it's not sterile. It's more than clean. It's past disinfection. But what is high-level disinfection, and why do you feel so strongly about it?
Well, again, high-level disinfection is basically there's levels to disinfection. Okay. And we kind of leave sterilization out of that equation to an extent, because sterilization is the highest level that you can possibly achieve of a product. Sterilization is you're killing everything. Okay. Nothing is to survive. Okay. The probability of survival is extremely low for sterilization. When you're disinfecting with a intermediate, low level or high level, you're killing most, but not all. There are still going to be some microbes left on there, still going to be some spores that are left, and spores, are very difficult to clean, and they're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to crack open out of their shells and go ahead and proliferate and multiply and reinfect whatever there is.
Right.
High-level disinfection is typically used on semi-critical devices when sterilization is not available. I'm going to say that again. High-level disinfection is for semi-critical devices when sterilization is not available. Not when it's not an option. It's always an option for semi-critical devices. It's just, do you have that sterilization modality available? So high-level disinfection is used when sterilization is not available. If sterilization is available, the Spalding classification and the standards state that you should be sterilizing.
So that's to your point that you said earlier. So now I'm backtracking because I heard you say it. Now, is that acceptable to flip between if I need to versus I can
you
wait?
Cannot,
because if I've been sterilizing it, right? If I've been sterilizing it, but my sterilizer just isn't available, and I have high-level disinfection available to me, is that possible?
That is possible. If
Code is
your
up.
sterilizer, so I'm going to say it like this way, okay? It's because availability means that, oh, my sterilizer is running, so I'm going to use the high level. No, my sterilizer is out of service, so I high level disinfect. It's not that it's occupied and I high level disinfect. It is out of service. It is broken. It is getting repaired. It's not because there's a load in there and then I can high level disinfect. No, it has to wait the process.
Hey, everybody, the code is on the screen. Make sure you scan the code. Get for tonight's episode. I want to just go back to what he just said because I want to make sure people understand the ramifications of what he's saying. If your sterilizer is available and you have an item that has sterile in its IFU, if that sterilizer is running, that item should be set to the side until the sterilizer is then now available. It's not. It shouldn't be. Both of the sterilizers are going. I have my high level of disinfection. I'm just going to high level disinfection. Again, that's what he's trying to get y'all to realize is that when is it okay to pick and choose? Why are we picking and choosing when you have the tools available to do something at a higher level? And that's what he's saying. If sterilizing it is the highest level and it says it should be sterilized, why aren't we sterilizing it? But I can go a whole different way, Jesse, because doesn't ST91 say we should be sterilizing scopes if we can? But that's a different conversation. That's a different conversation. But that's one of those things, right? But who has the wherewithal to sterilize all of the endoscopes?
Currently, right now, I don't know anybody that can do it, and that's gonna be like if you guys are in the area sometime soon, I'll be talking about that very soon.
Okay, all right, but that is one of those things where I say it is available, but it's like not even like we can't. And a lot of I know I've talked to a lot of endo managers and SPD managers says we just don't have the bandwidth to sterilize all of those endoscopes or the those AERs and OERs and all those things have to be used because they just can't do it. So on high level disinfection, that is the tricky part. You have to read those IFUs again. And he's saying the semi-critical items. Yes, if it has it in its IFU and you can sterilize it, you should be sterilizing it. That's the bottom line to that, right?
Yep. And the other part of high level disinfection that I want to touch on too is that we've gotten so complacent with high level disinfection that we're willing to take an item that's high level disinfected and place it in an item that doesn't have the similar disinfection level on it. We would never take a sterile item and put it into a high level disinfected container or handle it with clean latex free gloves. We would never handle a sterile item like that. The sterile item has to be handled and placed in the similar disinfected level container and handled in the same manner. Okay. You would never see the circulating nurse pop open a tray and handle an instrument to give it to the scrub tech. It doesn't work like that. The scrub tech is a sterile field. He has his sterile barriers on. So he has his sterile gloves on. He has a sterile gown on. So he's the one who handles those sterile instruments, not the person with the clean gloved hands. But we are so comfortable with taking a high level disinfected item and handling it with an item or placing it in an item that hasn't even been disinfected at all. And expect that item to still be high level disinfected.
So in saying that, so you're saying that when we high level disinfect whatever it is, and then we take it out of that and place it in the transport container, that transport container might have went through the washer, but it wasn't high level disinfected. So by essentially placing it in there, we've done nothing.
We've done nothing but recontaminate that device. Yes.
We definitely gonna have to revisit this because that just opened another whole can of worms, and I know people are. But to that point, don't a lot of people bag those high level disinfectant items before they send them out to the different modalities in the hospital? Don't they get bagged and tagged to say clean, not sterile, and things like that?
And yeah, they're perfect right there. Clean, not sterile. No, it's more than clean. But there's where the confusion comes in at. It's more than clean,
I was trying to get
but we
there. I was trying
place
to
it
let
in
you
an
go.
item that has only been clean. So yes, now that item is clean and has not been disinfected.
Okay. So, family, Jesse, just as I always do it, I want to make sure I give you the same opportunity. To the family listening, and this is one of those questions, or it's one of those three-part things. We're talking clean, disinfected, HLD, and sterilization. If you had to explain that in, I won't say 5 words or less, but if you had to explain that to the person on the other end that's still confused, what would you say?
If you're following a process flow, clean follows disinfected, clean, clean, disinfected, and then sterilize. It is going up a hill rather than down a hill.
Hey, look, Angela trying to start stuff. She said, example, adding the disposable buttons to the high-level disinfectant scopes. See? See, there we go. But don't they come in pre-packaged sterile?
So
Can we do
so
that?
if the, so yes, that we can do, and this is where I wanted to make a point on that real quick. As long as you're going a step above the disinfected process, you are okay. If you're placing a high-level disinfected item into a sterile bag, that is perfect. You went a level above the disinfection. But if you're putting it into a regular trash bag that you bought at the dollar store, that's a problem.
Yeah, hopefully we're not doing that. Jesse, as always, my friend, it's been entertaining. I definitely want to bring you back because we're gonna have to revisit some of this because I know we didn't touch on a lot of it, but I wanted to just get people to get that first understanding that yes, you hit it right on the head at the end there. We have tags that even say it: clean, not sterile. You have tags that say it. You talk about if it's high level disinfectant, then putting it in a non-high level disinfectant container that you essentially just put everything like you did nothing because you are now contaminating what you just did. Or if it needs to be sterilized and it has it to be sterilized, why aren't we sterilizing it? So a lot of those things that I know people, even down to like the alcohol that we talked about in the beginning. Are we doing the 5-minute dwell? Are we even supposed to be using alcohol? Like getting to the heart, the meat and potatoes of, are we even supposed to be doing it? I saw somebody say, can we clean on can we be spraying on the clean side? You talked about the sterilization and all those things. Bringing it to the awareness of the people that needed to be hearing it so that we can go out now and say, let me look at my processes just to make sure that we're doing the right thing based on some of the stuff you said. As always, you do drop jewels and nuggets every time you come through. I appreciate you, my friend. Hey, family. You make sure you let Jesse know that you appreciate him. Jesse, how can they find you real quick, sir?
And I'm very active on LinkedIn under Jesse Lopez. I'm on Instagram under WDYD CSP. I'm also on YouTube under the same name, WDYD CSP, where I teach processes and show you step-by-step instructions on how to process several instruments that you come across. And I also stir that pot all day long on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So you can find me on all those platforms.
Definitely, if you're not connected with Jesse, definitely connect with him because when a stir the pot comes up, he will make you think about things in a totally different light, and it gives you insight. And again, he's not saying that what you're doing is wrong, but can we consider the alternative? And that's what we're talking about today. Now, we want everybody to see and consider the alternatives that what they're doing may be different. So we have to ask that question. Hey, Jesse, I hear these comments here. You're awesome. People really enjoyed you tonight. I appreciate you. Family,
Thank you.
As always, same time next week. We do it all over again. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you share this because those CEUs are free. We're doing this so you can get the education. Make sure you pass it on to those who need it. It is HSPA and CBSPD. I got CEUs for both. So make sure you reach out to the people that you know need them and share this information because you never know who may need it. Jesse, I appreciate you, sir. Family, same time next week. I will see y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Peace.